Admiral Jake Morrison stood in front of the huge screen in the war room. Red dots covered the display like a disease spreading across space. Each red dot was a Zephyrian warship. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy a city. There were 800 of them heading straight for Earth. Jake rubbed his tired eyes. He had not slept in 3 days. The coffee in his cup had gone cold hours ago, but he kept drinking it anyway. Around him, officers moved like ghosts between computer screens, their faces pale with fear they tried to hide. "Sir, the enemy fleet will reach the outer planets in 6 hours," said Lieutenant Peters, his voice barely above a whisper. Jake nodded, but did not look away from the screen. Earth's fleet looked pitiful next to the alien armada. 43 human ships against 800 alien ones. It was not a battle. It was going to be a slaughter. "Where is Captain Grant?" Jake asked. "On her way up, sir." Captain Lisa Grant had been Earth's best negotiator before the war started. She knew more about alien thinking than anyone else in the fleet. If anyone could find a way out of this mess, it would be her. The door opened and Lisa walked in. She looked as tired as Jake felt, but her eyes were sharp and focused. She carried a datapad in one hand and a cup of coffee in the other. "Admiral," she said with a quick nod. "Lisa, please tell me you have good news." Lisa set down her coffee and looked at the screen. The red dots seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. "I have an idea, but you are not going to like it. At this point, I will listen to anything." Lisa touched her datapad and the main screen changed. Now it showed information about the Zephyrians, pictures of their leaders, notes about their culture, records of past battles. "The Zephyrians respect strength above everything else," Lisa said. "They only negotiate with equals. In their minds, weak species deserve to be conquered." "We are not exactly strong right now," Jake said. "No, but they don't know that." Jake turned to look at her. "What do you mean?" "They know we have 43 ships. They know we lost most of our colonies. But they don't know everything about our weapons. What if we made them think we have something they should fear?" "Like what?" Lisa touched her datapad again. The screen now showed technical drawings of weapons that did not exist. Stellar disruptors, planet crackers, weapons so powerful they could destroy entire star systems. The room went quiet. Every officer stopped what they were doing to listen. "Lisa, we don't have weapons like that," Jake said. "I know, but they don't know that." Jake stared at the fake weapon designs. "You want us to lie?" "I want us to survive." Dr. Pete Collins walked into the room at that moment. He was Earth's top scientist, a thin man with gray hair and thick glasses. He had been working on real weapons for the war effort, but nothing close to what Lisa was showing on the screen. "Pete, can you make these weapons?" Jake asked, pointing at the screen. Pete looked at the designs and shook his head. "Not in 1,000 years. The energy requirements alone would need the power output of a star. But could you make the Zephyrians think we have them?" Lisa asked. Pete was quiet for a long moment. He studied the fake designs, his scientist mind working through the problem. "Maybe. We could create false technical data, make fake test results. If we are smart about it, we might fool their sensors for a while." "How long is a while?" Jake asked. "Long enough to negotiate, I hope." Commander Amy Davis had been listening. From her station near the back of the room, she was in charge of communications and electronic warfare. "I can help with the technical side," she said. "We can create holographic records of weapon tests. Make it look like we have been testing these things for years." Jake looked around the room. These people were asking him to bet humanity's future on a lie. If the Zephyrians discovered the truth, they would be angry, very angry. The kind of angry that ends with planets being turned to glass. "What happens when they call our bluff?" Jake asked. "Then we were dead anyway," Lisa said. "At least this way we have a chance." Jake walked to the window that looked out into space. He could not see the Zephyrian fleet yet, but he knew they were out there, coming closer every minute. In a few hours, they would be in weapons range of Earth. Game over. "How do we start this?" he asked without turning around. "We send them a message," Lisa said. "We tell them Earth wants to negotiate a peace treaty, but we also warn them that any attack on our system will force us to use weapons that could crack planets in half. They will want proof. Then we give them fake proof. Pete creates the technical data. Amy makes the test footage. I handle the psychology. Jake turned back to face them. And if this works, if they actually believe us, then we buy time. Time to build real defenses. Time to prepare for the next war. Time for humanity to survive. Then red dots on the screen pulsed again. 800 ships full of aliens who wanted to wipe out every human in the galaxy. Against that, Earth had 43 ships and one desperate plan. Jake picked up his coffee cup and drained the cold liquid in one gulp. "Do it," he said. "Send the message." Lisa smiled for the first time in days. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone about to play the most dangerous game in human history. "Commander Davis, open a channel to the Zephyrian fleet," Lisa said. "Channel open." Lisa took a deep breath. The next word she spoke would either save humanity or doom it forever. There was no middle ground. No second chances. "This is Captain Lisa Grant of the Earth Colonial Defense Force," she began. "We are prepared to discuss terms for a peace treaty. However, be advised that any hostile action against Earth or its territories will result in the immediate deployment of stellar disruptor weapons. These weapons are capable of destroying entire star systems. We hope this clarifies our position." The message went out into space, racing toward the alien fleet, at the speed of light. Now all they could do was wait and see if the biggest lie in human history would be enough to save them all. Supreme Commander Thexai stood 8 feet tall in the command center of his flagship. His metallic skin gleamed under the bright lights as he studied the message from Earth. The human words appeared on his screen in the Zephyrian language, but they still made no sense to him. Stellar disruptor weapons. Planet crackers. The humans claimed they could destroy entire star systems. "Tactical Advisor Velkon," Thexai called out. A smaller Zephyrian approached. Like all of their species, Velkon had silver skin and large black eyes. "Yes, Supreme. Commander." "What do you make of this human message?" Velkon studied the transmission data. "It is puzzling, Commander. Our intelligence shows they have only 43 ships left. Most of their colonies have fallen. They should be begging for mercy, not making threats, yet they threaten us with weapons that can crack planets. It could be a bluff." Thexai turned his large black eyes toward his advisor. In Zephyrian culture, bluffing was considered the act of cowards. No honorable species would make claims they could not support. Humans have shown unusual behavior in past battles. They fight when they should surrender. They attack when they should run. Perhaps this is another example of their strange thinking. Or perhaps they truly have these weapons, said another voice. Both Zephyrians turned to see Science Officer Kexmar approaching. She carried a data tablet filled with information about human technology. "Explain," Thexai commanded. "Humans are unpredictable. They have developed technologies we did not expect. Their fusion drives are more efficient than ours. Their computer systems use quantum processing we have not mastered. What if they have made other breakthroughs?" Velkon shook his head. "Weapons that can destroy star systems require massive amounts of energy. The humans do not have that kind of power." "That we know of," Kexmar replied. On Earth, the waiting was the hardest part. Captain Lisa Grant sat in her office, staring at the communication console. 3 hours had passed since they sent the message to the Zephyrian fleet. No response yet. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Parker knocked on her door. "Captain, we need to talk." Ben was head of military intelligence. If anyone knew how to keep secrets and spread lies, it was him. Lisa waved him in. "The fake installations are almost ready," Ben said. "We have set up energy generators in the asteroid belt. From a distance, they will look like massive weapons platforms." "What about close inspection?" "That is where Dr. Sullivan comes in." Dr. Kate Sullivan was a civilian scientist who had volunteered to help with the deception. She understood physics better than anyone except Dr. Collins. Between the two of them, they were creating the most elaborate lie in human history. "Kate has been working on energy signatures," Ben continued. "We can make our fake weapons produce the right kind of radiation patterns, at least for a while. How long is a while? Long enough for negotiations, we hope. Lisa nodded. Everything depended on hope now. Hope that the aliens would believe them. Hope that the deception would hold long enough. Hope that humanity could survive another day. There is something else, Ben said. We intercepted some Zephyrian communications. They are talking about our message. What are they saying? They are confused. Our threat does not match their intelligence about our military strength. Some of them think we are lying. Others think we might have secret weapons. Which side is winning the argument? Hard to say, but the fact that they are arguing is good news. If they were sure we were lying, they would have attacked already. Back on the Zephyrian flagship, the debate continued. Supreme Commander HFY listened as his officers discussed the human message. Some believed it was impossible for such a weak species to possess world-destroying weapons. Others warned that underestimating humans had led to costly battles in the past. There is one way to know for certain, said Intelligence Officer Nex Theta. We could demand proof, force them to demonstrate these weapons. On what target? Velcon asked. An uninhabited system. If they truly have these stellar disruptors, they can show us their power safely. HFY considered this. It was a reasonable request. Any species with such powerful weapons would be able to demonstrate them. If the humans refused or made excuses, it would prove they were lying. Send a response, HFY decided. Tell them we are interested in peace negotiations. But first, they must prove they possess the weapons they claim to have. On Earth, the response arrived 4 hours after the original message. Lisa read it twice before calling Admiral Morrison. They want proof, she told him over the communication system. What kind of proof? A demonstration. They want us to show them our stellar disruptors in action. Morrison was quiet for a long moment. We cannot do that. I know, but we have to find another way to convince them. Dr. Collins joined the conversation from his laboratory. Maybe we do not need to actually demonstrate the weapons. What if we show them something else? Something that looks like a weapons test but is really something safer? Like what? Morrison asked. We could overload some fusion reactors in deep space, create a big explosion with unusual energy signatures, make it look like we are testing dangerous technology. Would that fool them? It might, especially if we act like the test is extremely dangerous, like we are risking everything just to show them a small sample of our power. Lisa felt a spark of hope. That could work. If we make them think even a small demonstration is incredibly risky, they might not ask for a full display. We would need to evacuate nearby installations, Ben added over the communication link. Make it look like we are taking serious safety precautions. How long do we have? Morrison asked. They are giving us 12 hours to respond, Lisa said. 12 hours to create a fake weapons test that would convince an advanced alien species. 12 hours to make the lie so believable that it would save humanity from extinction. Get everyone working on this, Morrison ordered. Collins, you handle the technical side. Parker, you coordinate the fake evacuation. Grant, you work on the response message. What do I tell them? Lisa asked. Tell them we will demonstrate our weapons, but we need time to ensure safety protocols. Make them think we are being very careful because the weapons are so dangerous. Lisa began composing the response message. Each word had to be perfect. Too confident and they might seem fake. Too hesitant and they might seem weak. The balance between truth and lies had never been more important. As she typed, Lisa wondered if this was how humanity would be remembered. Not as great explorers or brilliant scientists, but as the species that lied its way to survival. If it worked, she decided it would be worth it. The space station Harmony Point had seen better days. Once a busy trading post between human and alien worlds, it now floated empty in the darkness between territories. Its lights flickered as old systems struggled to keep working. But today, it would host the most important meeting in human history. Captain Lisa Grant walked through the station's corridors with her team. Major Sam Hayes walked beside her, his military uniform pressed and clean despite the tension. Dr. Pete Collins followed behind, carrying a briefcase full of fake technical data that could save or doom humanity. Remember, Lisa said quietly, every word matters, every pause, every gesture. They will be watching for signs that we are lying. What if they ask questions we cannot answer? Dr. Collins asked. His hands shook slightly as he gripped his briefcase. Then we deflect. We claim security protocols. We act like the information is too dangerous to share. Major Hayes nodded. He had fought Zephyrians in 3 different battles. He knew how they thought, how they moved, how they showed emotion. Their body language is different from ours. When they are suspicious, their head plates flutter. When they are interested, they lean forward. When they are angry, their skin gets brighter. The main conference room had been prepared for the meeting. A long table sat in the center with chairs, sized for both humans and Zephyrians. Holographic projectors waited to display the fake weapon data that Dr. Collins had spent days creating. On Earth, Commander Amy Davis worked frantically in the communication center. Banks of computers showed fake energy readings from the asteroid. Belt installations. Captain Troy Williams coordinated with teams throughout the solar system, making sure every part of their deception looked real. Station 7 reports ready, one technician called out. Station 12 is online, said another. All fake installations are showing proper energy signatures, Amy announced. If the Zephyrians scan our outer system, they will see what we want them to see. The Zephyrian diplomatic ship arrived at Harmony Point exactly on time. It was a sleek vessel, silver like the skin of its crew, with strange curves that hurt human eyes to look at directly. The ship docked with a soft thud that echoed through the station's metal walls. Envoy Prime Kethvar led the alien delegation. He stood nearly 9 feet tall, his metallic skin polished until it gleamed. 2 smaller Zephyrians walked behind him, their black eyes scanning everything with suspicious interest. Lisa stood as the aliens entered the conference room. The Zephyrians moved with liquid grace, their long limbs flowing like water. When Kethavar spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. Humans, he said in accented English. We come to hear your claims of great weapons. Envoy Prime. Kethavar. Lisa replied with a formal bow. We appreciate your willingness to negotiate. They sat at the table, humans on one side, aliens on the other. The space between them felt like an ocean filled with lies waiting to be discovered. Dr. Collins activated the holographic projectors. Images filled the air above the table, showing the fake stellar disruptors in all their impossible glory. The weapons looked deadly and advanced, covered in lights and strange geometric patterns that meant nothing but looked impressive. These are our Mark 7 stellar disruptors, Dr. Collins began, his voice steadier than Lisa expected. They work by manipulating exotic matter at the quantum level. The energy output is equivalent to a medium-sized star. Kethavar leaned forward, studying the holographic displays. His head plates remained still, which Lisa hoped meant he was not suspicious yet. The technical principles are complex, Dr. Collins continued. We use contained antimatter reactions to create artificial black holes, which then channel zero-point energy through crystalline focusing arrays. It was complete nonsense, but it sounded scientific. Dr. Collins had spent hours making sure the fake technical terms sounded believable. The second Zephyrian, introduced as science advisor Mexavar, spoke for the first time. These energy requirements seem impossible. No known technology can contain such forces. Lisa felt her heart skip a beat. This was the moment she had feared. The technology is indeed advanced, she said calmly. It took us decades to develop and many test failures. The energy containment was our biggest challenge. Show us your test data, Mexavar demanded. Dr. Collins touched his control pad. New holographic images appeared, showing fake explosions in distant star systems. Computer-generated graphs displayed impossible energy readings. Fabricated reports described weapon yields that could shatter moons. These tests were conducted in uninhabited systems, of course, Dr. Collins said. The weapons are too dangerous to test near populated areas. Kethavar studied the data for long minutes. His black eyes reflected the holographic light as he absorbed the technical information. Your weapons seem very powerful, he said finally. They are, Lisa replied. Too powerful, really. We developed them during our war with the Rigel pirates, 5 years ago. Since then, we have been very careful about how we use them. This was another lie. There had been no war with Rigel pirates. But Lisa needed to explain why Earth had such weapons, but had not used them against the Zephyrians until, now Major Hayes spoke up. Our military doctrine requires approval from the highest levels before stellar disruptors can be deployed. We prefer conventional weapons when possible. Yet you threaten us with these weapons now, Kethvar observed. Only because you threaten our home system, Lisa said. We have no choice but to defend ourselves with everything we have. The negotiation continued for hours. The Zephyrians asked detailed questions about weapon deployment, targeting systems, and defensive countermeasures. Lisa and her team answered as best they could, mixing real physics with elaborate fiction. On Earth, the deception grew more complex by the hour. Captain Williams moved ships around the outer system, creating sensor signatures that looked like weapon preparations. Dr. Kate Sullivan worked with her team to generate the exotic particle emissions that their fake weapons, supposedly, produced. Energy spike at Station 4, a technician reported. Looks like we are powering up something big. Perfect, Amy replied. Make sure the Zephyrians can detect it from their position. Back at Harmony Point, Mexavar was becoming more insistent. We would like to see one of these weapons in operation. Lisa felt cold sweat on her back. That would be extremely dangerous. The last time we tested a stellar disruptor, it created subspace distortions that lasted for months. A small demonstration then. Surely you can show us something. Dr. Collins spoke up. The weapons cannot be scaled down. They are either fully operational or completely inert. There is no middle setting. Then show us a full test, Kethvar said. The room went silent. This was the moment Lisa had hoped to avoid. They could not demonstrate weapons that did not exist. The risk is too great, she said finally. A stellar disruptor test in this region could affect inhabited systems. We cannot take that chance. Then how do we know you truly possess these weapons? Mexavar asked. Lisa looked at Dr. Collins, then at Major Hayes. The fate of humanity hung on her next words. Because, she said, quietly, we are the only species foolish enough to build weapons that could destroy ourselves along with our enemies. That is what makes us dangerous. The Zephyrians exchanged glances. Their headplates fluttered slightly, which Major Hayes recognized as a sign of uncertainty. We will consider your words, Kethvar said finally, but we require more proof than holographic displays and technical data. Lisa nodded. What kind of proof? We will send observers to inspect your weapon installations. If they are real, we will negotiate. If they are false, we will resume our attack. The meeting ended with polite farewells that fooled no one. As the Zephyrians left, Lisa knew their time was running out. Soon, alien inspectors would arrive at their fake installations. When they did, the greatest lie in human history would be exposed. The message from the Zephyrian fleet arrived 8 hours after the meeting ended. Captain Lisa Grant read it 3 times before she fully understood what it meant. The aliens were sending inspection teams to examine Earth's weapon installations. They wanted to see the stellar disruptors with their own eyes. Admiral Jake Morrison paced back and forth in the war room like a caged animal. How long do we have? 48 hours, Lisa replied. Their inspection ships are already on the way to the asteroid belt. Can our fake installations fool a close inspection? Lieutenant Colonel Ben Parker shook his head. Not a chance. The energy generators we set up look real from a distance, but up close they are obviously fake. Any competent engineer will see through the deception in minutes. Dr. Pete Collins sat at a computer terminal, his fingers flying over the keyboard. He was trying to find a solution, any solution that might save them. What if we evacuate the installations before they arrive? Claim we had to shut down the weapons for safety reasons? They will still want to examine the hardware, Ben said. Empty or not, they will know the installations are fake. Commander Amy Davis looked up from her communication station. We are getting reports from all over the system. The Zephyrians have deployed long-range sensors. They are scanning everything. Jake stopped pacing. What are they finding? The fake energy signatures are holding up so far. But once their inspection teams get close enough for visual confirmation, the game is over. On the Zephyrian flagship, Intelligence Officer Nexus Theta studied the sensor readings from the human solar system. Something felt wrong, but she could not put her finger on what it was. The energy patterns matched what stellar disruptors might produce, but there were small inconsistencies that bothered her. Science Advisor Mexivar, she called out. The older Zephyrian approached her station. What have you found? Look at these readings from the human installations. The quantum signatures are almost right, but there are variations that do not make sense. Mexivar examined the data. Variations how? The energy output fluctuates in patterns that suggest the weapons are not fully integrated systems. It is as if different components are working independently rather than as unified weapons. Could this be a design feature? Possible. Or it could mean the weapons are not real. Mexivar was quiet for a moment. Continue monitoring. If your suspicions are correct, we will know soon enough. Back on Earth, desperation drove innovation. Dr. Kate Sullivan had been working for 36 hours straight, trying to find a way to make their fake installations look real. Her eyes were red from staring at computer screens and her hands shook from too much coffee. What if we do not try to fool them? She said suddenly. The war room went quiet. Everyone turned to look at her. Explain, Jake said. What if we make the inspection impossible? Not by hiding the truth, but by making the inspection too dangerous to complete? Lisa leaned forward. How? We create a real energy buildup at one of the installations. Not enough to actually destroy anything, but enough to make the area genuinely dangerous. Then we warn the Zephyrians that approaching too close could trigger an accidental detonation. Dr. Collins looked up from his computer. That could work. We overload several fusion reactors simultaneously, create massive electromagnetic interference and radiation spikes, make it look like the weapons are building up energy for a test firing. But what if they call our bluff and approach anyway? Ben asked. Then we actually detonate the reactors, Kate said. Create a real explosion. It will not be anywhere near as powerful as our fictional stellar disruptors, but it will be big enough to destroy their inspection ships. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this idea. They were talking about actually attacking Zephyrian vessels. Even if it was in self-defense, it would mean crossing a line they could never uncross. If we destroy their inspection ships, they will know we are desperate, Jake said. It might convince them we are telling the truth, or it might make them so angry they attack immediately. We are dead either way if they discover the installations are fake, Lisa pointed out. Major Sam Hayes had been quiet during the discussion. Now he spoke up. There is another option. What if we evacuate all our outer system installations? Make it look like we are preparing for a massive weapons test? They will want to know why, Jake said. We tell them the truth. Sort of. We say we are going to demonstrate our stellar disruptors by destroying an uninhabited star system. But we need to evacuate everything within 50 light-years for safety. Lisa understood immediately. If we evacuate everything, including the fake installations, they cannot inspect them. And the evacuation itself becomes evidence that our weapons are real and incredibly dangerous. How do we choose a target system? Ben asked. We do not, Sam replied. We claim we are still selecting a target. We need time to ensure no inhabited worlds will be affected by the test. It gives us weeks, maybe months. Dr. Collins was nodding excitedly. And during that time, we can work on building real weapons, turn our lies into truth. Amy looked up from her station. Incoming transmission from the Zephyrian inspection fleet. They are 6 hours out from the first installation. Jake made his decision. Do it. Begin emergency evacuation of all outer system installations. Send a message to the Zephyrians explaining that we are preparing for a weapons demonstration. What do I tell them exactly? Lisa asked. Tell them we have decided to prove our capabilities by destroying the Kepler 442 system. Tell them we are evacuating all personnel and equipment within 50 light-years as a precaution. Tell them the demonstration will take place in 72 hours. Lisa began composing the message while the rest of the team coordinated the evacuation. Ships throughout the outer system received orders to abandon their stations and retreat to the inner planets. The evacuation was real, which made it convincing. Captain Troy Williams supervised the evacuation of the fake weapon installation on Ceres. His teams worked frantically to remove all equipment and personnel, making it look like they were abandoning a genuine military facility. Make sure to leave some radiation traces, he told his engineers, but nothing that will give away what we were really doing here. The Zephyrian inspection fleet received the evacuation message when they were 4 hours away from Ceres. Fleet. Commander Zekval read the human transmission with growing concern. They are evacuating everything, his communications officer reported. All installations within 50 light-years of their target system. 50 light-years? Zekval was shocked. What kind of weapon requires such precautions? His science officer checked the stellar maps. Kepler 442 is an uninhabited system with 7 planets. If the humans can truly destroy an entire star system, the energy release could affect neighboring regions. Should we continue with the inspection? The science officer hesitated. If they are telling the truth about the weapons test, approaching their installations could be extremely dangerous. The energy buildup alone might destroy our ships. Zekval faced an impossible choice. Continue the inspection and risk losing his ships to weapons they could not detect or understand. Or retreat and admit they could not verify human claims. Maintain distance, he ordered finally. We will observe the human evacuation and wait for their demonstration. On Earth, the evacuation continued around the clock. Thousands of personnel were relocated from outer system installations. Supply ships, research, vessels, and military craft all retreated toward the inner planets. The Zephyrian inspection fleet has stopped their approach, Amy reported. They are maintaining position at the edge of the asteroid belt. Are they scanning the evacuated installations? Jake asked. Yes, but from a safe distance. They are not approaching close enough for detailed inspection. Lisa felt a moment of hope. The evacuation was working. The Zephyrians were taking their threat seriously enough to avoid the installations entirely. But she knew this was only a temporary victory. In 72 hours, they would have to demonstrate weapons that did not exist. The biggest challenge was still ahead of them. What happens in 3 days when we are supposed to destroy Kepler 442? She asked. Jake looked at the tactical display showing the positions of both fleets. Human ships clustered around the inner planets while Zephyrian vessels waited in the outer darkness. In 3 days, he said quietly, we find out if humanity is clever enough to turn one lie into another. The countdown clock showed 12 hours until the promised demonstration. Captain Lisa Grant stood in the war room, surrounded by screens showing empty space where human installations used to be. The evacuation was complete, but now came the impossible part. How do you destroy a star system with weapons that do not exist? Admiral Jake Morrison looked exhausted. He had not slept since the evacuation began 3 days ago. Options, he said simply. Dr. Pete Collins cleared his throat. We could detonate our entire reserve of antimatter warheads in the target system. It would create a big explosion, but nothing like what we promised. How big? Lisa asked. Big enough to be seen from here. But any decent sensor array would show it was just conventional explosives, not stellar disruptors. Lieutenant Colonel Ben Parker shook his head. The Zephyrians will be watching with their best equipment. They will know immediately that we used normal weapons. Then we do not demonstrate anything, said Commander Amy Davis. We find another excuse. Like what? Jake asked. Equipment failure, safety concerns, anything to buy more time. Lisa had been thinking about this problem for hours. Every solution led to the same dead end. They could not demonstrate weapons they did not have, and they could not keep making excuses forever. The Zephyrians would eventually call their bluff. Bore, if we change the game entirely, she said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. What if we tell them that demonstrating the weapons is too dangerous? Not just for the target system, but for everything around it. We already tried that, Ben said. They want proof. No, I mean something different. What if we tell them that stellar disruptors do not just destroy star systems? What if we claim they can damage the fabric of space itself? Dr. Collins frowned. I do not understand. Lisa walked to the main display and called up a star chart. We tell them that our weapons work by tapping into zero-point energy, that they create tiers in space-time that could spread beyond the target system, that even testing them risks creating a chain reaction that could destroy multiple star systems. That is insane, Pete said. Exactly, so insane that it might be believable. The Zephyrians know humans are reckless. They have seen us fight hopeless battles and take impossible risks. What if they think we built weapons so dangerous that even we are afraid to use them? Jake was nodding slowly. A weapon so powerful that using it could destroy the people who fire it. It fits with human psychology, Major Sam Hayes added. The Zephyrians expect us to be unpredictable. Building doomsday weapons we cannot control is exactly the kind of stupid thing humans might do. Lisa felt excitement building. We do not demonstrate the weapons because we cannot. Because any test might trigger a catastrophic space-time collapse. We refuse to fire them because we value all life in the galaxy, including Zephyrian life. They will want scientific proof, Pete warned. Then we give them theoretical proof. Equations showing how stellar disruptors could destabilize local spacetime. Computer models predicting galactic catastrophe if the weapons are ever used. Amy looked up from her station. Incoming transmission from the Zephyrian fleet. They are asking for an update on the weapons test. Perfect timing, Lisa said. Put me through to Envoy Prime Kethvar. The main screen flickered and showed the interior of the Zephyrian flagship. Kethvar appeared, his metallic skin gleaming under harsh lights. Behind him, other Zephyrians watched the transmission. Captain Grant, Kethvar said. We are prepared to observe your demonstration. Lisa took a deep breath. Everything depended on the next few minutes. Envoy Prime, I must inform you that the demonstration has been cancelled. The Zephyrians exchanged glances. Kethvar leaned forward. Cancelled? Why? Our science teams have discovered a serious problem with stellar disruptor technology. The weapons are more dangerous than we realized. Explain. Lisa looked directly into the camera. The stellar disruptors do not just destroy matter, they tear holes in space-time itself. Our computer models show that firing them could create a cascade effect that spreads across multiple star systems. You are saying your weapons could destroy more than their intended targets? I am saying they could destroy everything. The cascade effect might not stop until it reaches inhabited systems, including Earth, including your homeworlds. Dr. Collins stepped into view of the camera. The mathematics are terrifying, he said, his voice shaking with what looked like genuine fear. Zero-point energy manipulation on this scale could unravel the quantum foam that holds space together. Science advisor Mexvar appeared beside Kethvar. Show us these calculations. Pete transmitted the fake data they had prepared. Complex equations filled the Zephyrian screens, showing theoretical cascade effects and space-time stability failures. The mathematics were real, even if the underlying assumptions were not. According to these models, Pete continued, a single, stellar disruptor test could create quantum instabilities that spread at faster than light speeds. Whole sectors of the galaxy could become uninhabitable. Kethvar studied the data for long minutes. You built weapons you cannot use? We built them during our war with the Rigel pirates, Lisa said. But we never tested them at full power. Only now do we understand how dangerous they really are. Then why threaten us with them? Lisa looked straight at him. Because sometimes, the threat of mutual destruction is the only thing that stops a war. We will use these weapons if we must, even knowing they might kill everyone in the galaxy. That is how desperate we are to protect our home. The transmission went silent. On the Zephyrian flagship, heated discussions were taking place. Lisa could see other aliens moving in the background, their headplates fluttering with agitation. Finally, Kethvar spoke again. You are claiming that your weapons are too dangerous to test, too dangerous to use, but that you will use them anyway if we attack? Yes. That is madness. That is humanity. Another long silence. Lisa held her breath. Everything hung on what Kethvar said next. We will withdraw our fleet to a safe distance while we consider this information, he said finally. The transmission ended. The war room erupted in quiet celebration, but Lisa knew it was not over yet. How long do you think we have? Jake asked. Hours, maybe days. But this buys us time to prepare. Prepare for what? For the real negotiations. They will want a peace treaty now, something that guarantees we will never use our fictional doomsday weapons. Over the next 18 hours, messages flew between the human and Zephyrian fleets. Terms were discussed, boundaries were drawn, and promises were made. The final treaty was signed aboard Harmony Point, with both sides agreeing that Earth's stellar disruptors would never be used except in case of total war. The Zephyrian fleet withdrew from human space. Their mission changed from conquest to containment. They would watch Earth from a distance, making sure the dangerous humans never used their terrible weapons. Lisa stood in the observation deck of Harmony Point, watching the alien ships disappear into hyperspace. Beside her, Jake shook his head, in amazement. We actually did it, he said. We bluffed our way out of extinction. For now, Lisa replied, but this lie will not hold forever. Eventually, someone will want proof that our weapons exist. Then we better start building real ones. Lisa nodded. The peace treaty gives us time. Time to develop actual defenses. Time to turn our lies into truth. She looked out at the stars, thinking about the future. Humanity had survived by being cleverer than their enemies, not stronger. They had won a war without firing a shot, using nothing but words and imagination. Do you think they will ever find out? Jake asked. Maybe, but by then, it will not matter. By then we will have real weapons to defend ourselves. Lisa smiled for the first time in weeks. It was not a happy smile, but it was satisfied. Humanity had faced extinction and found a way to survive. They had discovered that sometimes the most powerful weapon was not a stellar disruptor or antimatter warhead. Sometimes the most powerful weapon was a really good lie, told by people desperate enough to make it believable. The peace treaty was signed, the aliens were gone, and Earth was safe. Humanity had bought itself a future with nothing but cleverness and courage. And in the end, that was the most human thing of all.